Hello Bitzbox, this is Craig from Bitzbox.co.uk here with another video. So in this one I'm going to be painting the heroes from Cursed City using a cold colour palette. So essentially the colour wheel is made up of cold colours and warm colours, and you also have neutrals as well. So as this picture shows you, you've got your cold colours and your warm colours. So yeah, I'll be mainly using blues and greens. And also I'm going to use some neutrals as well, so greys, blacks and browns and white all sort of fall under the neutral. So I went online on Pinterest and I was looking for some colour palette inspiration as well, and I came across this which I really liked. So yeah, I'm going to be focusing around the colours here, and I will show you the paints I've used and my palette, and yeah, I'll show you the painting process, and hopefully you'll like the final result. I'm really happy with how these came out. So yeah, sit back and enjoy the video. So here's my wet palette, and I've got greys here, rust grey, nurgling green, lupercal green, nocturne green, and corvus black. And these are the main colours that I'll be using for this scheme. So I'm going to start with the rust grey. So these areas are mainly going to end up being white. But I'm using the rust grey as a base for this. So I'm going to apply two thin coats over all the miniatures. I'm just using this one as an example. And that'll give us a nice solid area to work on for all the white areas. So yeah, sort of work out which areas I want to be white on the miniatures and apply this to them. And I thought I'd zoom in the camera for the rest of the painting. We're a bit far away. So taking nocturne green now, and it's a little bit thin on the palette, so I will do about 2 or 3 thin coats of that. And here are all the miniatures with these two colours on. This is the last you'll sort of see of them all till I finish, but I just wanted to show just some rough idea of where I'm applying these colours. And then I'll be able to sort of work out where other colours are going to go from there. So next we're taking some of this corvus black. And I'm going to apply this to, on this miniature, like some little straps and pouches and stuff like that, but on some of the other miniatures I might use the nurgling green for some straps and stuff, just to add a bit of variety. So speaking of nurgling green, I'm taking this here and I'm going to do it on this big collar piece, and it's a little bit thin, so again I'm going to apply a couple of thin coats to this. But I really like this colour. It works quite well with the darker green and the rust grey and the white that we'll see later on. So I do think it was a good choice. I am quite enjoying this palette. For some reason I filmed myself putting on the second coat. I don't know why, but there you go. You can watch it with me. But once that's on, I'm actually going to jump straight to the silvers. So yeah, and I'm not doing any non-metallic metal or anything here, so I am just using silver colours. Silver is quite cool, but I am going to avoid any sort of gold or brass, of course. And then I'm going to take some thin down Nuln oil and just go over all of these areas, just to add a little bit of depth into the recesses. It went on quite thin, probably a little bit too thin, so I think I did come back and just do a little bit of a heavier coat, just to give it a little bit more depth. As you can see, it does provide a fair bit anyway. Okay, so with the rust grey mix, I'm going to mix in some of this greys here to make a lighter colour, and now I'm going to start highlighting up on the white areas. So yeah, I'm going to sort of layer this over most of it, just leaving the rust grey in them recesses. And I'll sort of sped this little section up. It's thinned out, of course, being on the wet palette and that'll give us a lovely, nice, smooth finish. And this is one way that I do really enjoy painting white. So I'm sort of glad I could use it here. I'm really happy with how the hood's turned out. So I'm using the pure white from Instar. I'm not really a big fan of the GW whites. I do try and use a lot of GW paints on these videos, but sometimes I just can't bring myself to use the whites. So yeah, I'm just sort of edge highlighting all these areas. And this is a really nice pure white. So I really like using that. The lupercal green is next, just on its own, and this is going to be our highlight for all the nocturne green areas. It works really well as a highlight colour. I really like it. And again, I'm sort of just layering over most of it, just leaving the original colour in the recesses. And you'll notice, of course, since it's had the non-oil wash, it's made it a little bit darker. But because the paint's quite thin as it goes on now, the highlights won't be too stark. And I'm going to mix in some of that Nurgling green with the Lupercal green. And it gives us a nice sort of muted highlight colour. So, of course, I'm trying to avoid, a lot of the times if I want a muted colour I'd use something like Shabby Bone, but I sort of consider that a bit yellow, so that would go under the warm spectrum, so yeah, sort of mixing in this Nurgling green instead. Of course you could mix in grey here, that would work pretty well also. It's exactly what I've done here with the Nurgling green. For some reason I didn't show me mixing it on the palette, but yeah, just a bit of grey here in with the Nurgling green to do the highlights on that area, and I really like how that turned out as well. So yeah, I've just sort of left the darker area on here around sort of the edges of the collar, and that seemed to work quite nicely. So next up, I'm painting the skin, and I'm going to use Catch and Flesh. So I did post a work in progress picture up on Instagram, sort of asking for ideas on the flesh, and someone said like the darker skin tones would work quite well, and they do fall into the bracket of neutral. And of course you can mix in like purples and blues with them quite nice. So I do actually take some Demonette Hide here and mix it in to make a really nice highlight colour. So I've painted most of the flesh areas this way. There's a couple that I will paint differently, and I will show you them towards the end of the video. But yeah, I really like how this turned out. So just going over like usual highlight spots, fingers and things like that. So I take some Venetian purple now, because I just feel like she just needed something else, and sort of purple fits into our cold scheme. So I thought, yeah, I'll have like a sort of casting a spell on her hand. Now my OSL absolutely sucks, so it didn't really turn out too great. I didn't want to have it like really bright and glowing and sort of taking over most of the miniature though. Maybe like just very sort of dull looking, and I think I kind of achieved that. I mixed in a bit of pure white for the highlights. But I'm sure if you were doing this on your miniature, you would do a far better job than me. But it just adds that extra little bit of visual interest to her without going too crazy. So the other skin area, mainly on the ogre, and I think the little mage guy I do this for, I'm going to take some Blue Horror. This is like the ultimate cold colour, I really like it. And I'm going to take some Druchii Violet for the recesses of this. And I've gone straight out of the pot, but in hindsight I probably should have thinned it down just a little bit more, but I do spread it around. And then I just go back in with the Blue Horror. And yeah, just leave, obviously again, just layering up, leaving the original Druchii Violet in the recesses. That sort of lightens the skin back up. And then I mix in some grey here with the Blue Horror to make a really light highlight. So it's almost grey here, just that little hint of Blue Horror. But yeah, once this skin area is done, they're all complete. That's it, and you can see that I've used the Nurgling green on his straps and stuff like that. But yeah, they're literally the only steps that I took on all of these miniatures. I did use some of the Catachan flesh for pouches and straps and things like that, just to add a little bit of variety. But yeah, very limited palette and a cool palette, and yeah, it was a bit of a challenge, something different to do, but I really like the final results I've got here. And someone did comment on Instagram, it looks like they're sort of in the moonlight, which I really liked. Base and scheme, I also just went with my basic sort of Astrogranite and Longbeard Grey dry brush. It works quite well with this. For the other half of Cursed City, for all the bad guys, I'm actually going to use a warm palette. And yeah, so I'll be doing a video on that in the future as well. So something to look forward to on the channel. And if you want to keep up to date with everything, of course, just you can hit that subscribe button. And if you did enjoy this video, I'm sorry if it just felt like it was like really sort of rushed. As I'm sort of recording this voiceover, I was just jumping from clip to clip quite quickly, but I didn't want to drag it out or anything like that. So yeah, if you did enjoy it, then please do give it a thumbs up. And And yeah, let me know what you thought in the comments. I'd love to hear all your comments. I read every single one and I do reply to as many as I can. So yeah, feel free to leave any comments down below. And all I have to say is thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. If you enjoyed this video, then please feel free to subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. You can also click that bell icon to be notified when a new video has gone live on this channel. On the screen now are 2 more videos that you may wish to check out, and a link to our Patreon page also. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.